So now we will see key questions to assess a coaching certification training. I know I may sound a bit passionate about this subject, but really, it's so heartwarming to see people progressing and to become great coaches, to have a very positive impact on others, that we're so proud when we've been part of this journey. And on the other hand, when I mentor, so when I assess the competencies of people that I have not been training and who has been spending a lot of money to go for a coaching certification that is supposedly correct, and that I witness that the poor quality of what they're doing, it's so heartbreaking. And so when we are thinking about people who go for a coaching certification and never use it again, people who are going for a coaching certification, but who are really coaching at such a poor level that could even harm others, you know, we need to do something that stop that kind of waste. And that's why I've created the People Coach certification to really have a high quality, a benchmark that you can then compare with others. And I also want to share with you the key questions that you need to assess a coaching training certification. Because, well, everything is shiny on marketing, but the reality could be different. And it's difficult to see this reality if you're not in the field of coaching. I've been in this field for 15 years and I've seen it evolving, and I've seen how people have been trained, how well they coach or not so well. What is their blocking point? So I can really tell you what is needed when we want to make sure that we have a competent, professional, and ethical coach. So let's dive in. And if I'm passionate, then bear with me. It's because the subject is really dear to my heart. And I want to make sure that whomever is embarking in a coaching journey is really fulfilled and have a very positive impact on others. So, what are the key questions? Well, you need to question the coaching techniques, the practice with client, the supervision, the mentoring, as well as the positioning. And if you have covered all that, then you can be quite confident that you made the right decision in terms of picking the right coaching certification. Now, let's dive into detail for each of them so that you're really comfortable with them. So, in terms of coaching techniques, so very simple question that you can ask any coaching training providers about their curriculum by asking, okay, so which are the coaching techniques that you teach? And if you get that kind of answer, that would be, oh, we teach the GROW model, I would be very, very cautious. Why? Well, the GROW model itself is quite of a good coaching model. It helps to define the goal, where the person is currently, what are the different options to move from the reality to the goal, as well as designing an action plan. So it works. It's also a model that I coach in the People Coach certification. But if I have only that, it's a disaster. One model cannot cope with a variety of situations. Let me give you an example. I'm coaching a leader who has received a very poor feedback, and he's so shocked, so affected that he just tell me, you know what, I just want to quit. Can you help me quitting the company? Do you think that really the objective that the company is paying me for and paying this leader for is to really quit the company? Definitely not. So I can't use the GRAW model. I need to help this person process the shock, the anger, to deal with the emotion, and to help them back into reasoning and grow their self-confidence, their purpose, and the meaning again. That can be done in coaching, but not with the GRAW model. The second example, I'm coaching a teenager who wants to find what would be his career and therefore the next study that would be best suited. Now, obviously, a teenager has been hearing the question, oh, okay, what do you want to do next? What would be your job? What is your future? At least 1,000 times. He's bored with that kind of question. He's feeling the pressure from everywhere. And the thing is, when he answered these questions by, I don't know, it's a sincere answer. He's not trying to hide. It's just that he's lost. He doesn't know what to go next. He doesn't know where to find inspiration. And so if I ask him by applying the growth model, what's your objective? Where do you want to be? I will also get an I don't know. And that will be a sincere one. And can't progress on that. So I need more than the ground model. I need something that will help bring creativity, to change the thinking patterns, to open possibility, to inspire, to uplift, to empower, so that he will be back into that resourcefulness that will guide him to make the right choice later on. But as you see, it's way more subtle than just a growth model. And one last example. I've been coaching a very senior leader. He's been working for 20 years in a huge organization, yet they've asked to people to leave. They've reduced their staff by 1/3. And he just announced me on that coaching session that he's devastated. He had tears in his eyes and he was so grieving the fact that he had some very good, very competent, very skilled colleagues who have been asked to leave. Some of them were friends, and he was really worried for them. And he was feeling so guilty because he was keeping his job. You know what? The grow model won't work either. I need to find in my arsenal, in my portfolio of coaching tools, something that will help this person, even on something that was completely unexpected. We had not defined that as a coaching objective, but I need, as a coach, to adapt to the reality, and I need to cope and help him to be back into something that will be even more useful, that he could even inspire others. It works. I did it, but I can tell you it requires way more than the ground model. If you get an answer that is not the growth model, but whichever other model, but it's only one, the huge danger also is that in a few months, AI will be doing that better than any coach. So what's the point if going into a coaching certification if AI can replace you before you even finish and get graduated? So as a comparison, so that you have a benchmark and you know where you stand when you are assessing a coaching training certification. This is what I teach in the People Coach certification. On the left side, you see all the model that I teach in module 1, which is actually the basic fundamental coaching tools. You see there the grow. There's also the trust equation. There's also the SMART that you probably have heard of. And these are models that were created by coaching institutes. I'm using them and I will teach you them because they do work. But I have added some. And as soon as I leave you to start coaching, you will already have 7 tools. These tools are actually derived from my own practice of more than 1,000 people. What I have observed about supervising coaches who are struggling with difficult cases, from what I've observed as a mentor when I assess the competencies of coaches and noticing where they are coping well and where they are not. And I'm using them on daily basis. So They are really working and they are adapted to what is happening in coaching. I've even brought that one step further. On the right side, you see a shell. This is the aspiration model that I've created. It has 12 steps. At each of these steps, you have different coaching tools. And this will help you cope with what are the difficult and the typical steps of any coaching journey so that you're actually equipped to cope to whatever will come in a coaching journey. Now, it can seem overwhelming to have so many tools. So that's why I'm not only teaching tools, I'm asking you to practice and I'm helping you to grow your critical thinking so that you know what to use in which circumstances with whom and at which space. And you even know how to combine them or how not to use any of them if you can trust yourself and define your own model, which is the higher level. And I don't expect that right away. So as you say, I made sure that is rock solid, that you're well equipped and that you can cope with a different situation that will happen in coaching. This is not necessarily the case with every coaching certification, but I think you now understand why it is critical. The second question to gauge the quality of a coaching certification is about practice. So you can really candidly ask about how do you practice, with whom, and how often. If the answer is as you wish, well, I don't know for you, but if something is difficult and not mandatory, I just do the bare minimum. And as soon as there's an obstacle, I just drop it. Yeah, I may not be a role model in that. Don't get inspired by me. There's some people who are probably way more disciplined. But attending a training where practice is just as you wish is probably only as good as watching an inspiring YouTube video. That won't make you competent. If you hear peer coaching is quite simple. You have participants in a group and they are coaching each other. Now, everyone have heard the same method. There's nothing at stake. It's just as if you were asking a surgeon to operate their roommates or to operate cadavers. There's nothing at stake. If I fail it, doesn't matter. Nobody will protest and I won't go further. But that's not the reality. That's dangerous if that stops there. This is something important to gain confidence, to build trust, and to grow our muscles when we are in a training class. But that's not the reality. We need to go one step further and to actually train with real people. We need to have real practice. So why is it important? Because if that did not happen during the training program, then you will end up like some of many coaches that come back to me after they are actually certified and say, hey, you know what? I had never practiced with a client. So when I was graduated, I was so freaked out. I didn't know how to deal with a real client. So I've seen that your coaching certification has some practice and support in practice. So I'm willing to go for a second coaching certification. I mean, yeah, it's heartwarming to hear that they trust and that they will be willing to practice, but what a waste. They need to start from scratch again. I don't want that to happen to you. So really make sure that there is practice in the coaching certification that you are choosing. Attending a training without practice doesn't make you competent. So, how are we doing it in the people coach certification? Well, first of all, practice is mandatory. And there's no excuse, there's nothing. No, no, no. Yes, it's great to have discussion, it's great to learn, but learning by doing is probably still the very best way to realize, to integrate, to be aware of what's happening, and to progressively discover and grow our abilities. So every time we have a class together, we call them live, you have opportunity to practice with your peers. So participants are coaching each other and there's nothing at stake, and it's about us being comfortable, but we are every time observed and we get feedback on what we do. So we are there in a really learning platform, and it's a learning opportunity to highlight what we are good at and what we need to grow and to adjust little by little. Now, outside the classroom, you will have one coaching with a peer, but we make sure that it's a real coaching in the sense that you have 5 sessions with the same person, you follow up, you see them progressing, you adjust, etc., and you keep that relationship. And somebody else is actually coaching you. So you will have your very own coach, and you will be coaching one person that you're comfortable, that you already know a bit. Then you will coach 4 real clients. And these people probably had never heard about coaching, and they expect the coaching to work for them. So they expect you to do a great job in coaching them. So, with these 5 opportunities to coach different people, and I would strongly encourage that you coach them in several languages so that you can compare what is happening and that you can even try coaching one of them face to face and the other online so that you vary as well the kind of experiences that you have in coaching. And that will allow you to have at least coaching every week. So you keep the momentum, you have real opportunity to practice. Now, I know that it can be scary to go and say, hey, I'm about to coach real clients. So, first of all, you have the whole module 1 where you get prepared, where we are coaching, we're supporting you, we're training you so that you're not diving without any experience. You would have practice. And second, every month we meet in supervision session and we meet in group. And every coach, every participant is bringing what has been done really great and where do they need support. So, for example, I know that I will have a coaching session, I'm doing it, and it's supposed to be 1 hour, except that I never managed to get that 1 hour. It's 1.5, it's 45 minutes, it's 1:15. So what's best practice? What should I do as a coach? That's the kind of struggle that every coach who is in the beginning of the journey is actually facing. So that's why we are exploring that together in supervision so that you're comfortable and you know what's best practice and you can really learn from your own experience as well as from other people's experience so that it speed up the learning curve and you're really prepared to what is happening in real life with real coaching when you're a real coach. So that helps you to be fully operational once you graduate. Now, the third question is about really personal attention that you will get. So you can really candidly ask a coaching provider, a coaching training provider, how many people do you train and how do you mentor them? So mentoring in this context is about giving feedback, observing and giving feedback. So you know what? There are some wonderful program where you have such charismatic person that's so famous and they keep training 100, if not thousands of participants. Wonderful. Yes, because you have a great brand at the end. Now, let's be truly honest. If you go to a coaching certification that's branded by Tony Robbins, what is the chance that you get a personal feedback that will help you grow regularly by Tony Robbins? Well, you know the answer. The thing is, it's because we get feedback that we actually progress. If you're not receiving feedback, you think that you're doing well and you keep repeating the same mistakes, which in coaching has consequences on the quality of what you do and the impact of what you do with your coachee, with your client. Now, imagine a second that your client is not happy with what you did. What will happen? Well, very simple. You just stop. You no longer coach him. And he won't ask any of his friends to be coached by you. So end of the story. You have no more practice, you have no more business. That's a sad story that is happening on a daily basis when we are not able to progress steadily and to actually make sure that we have enough feedback to realize where we grow and where we need to grow. So what we're doing in the People Coach certification is precisely addressing that, making sure that you have personal attention and really tailored feedback. So we make sure that we have groups of 6 to 12 participants, no more, no less, because we want to make sure that there is enough dynamism in the exchanges, in the discussions, in the reflections, and that you also have opportunity to coach different people in different styles. You will have a minimum of 5 observed mentoring practice. So we make sure that we see you growing. And later on, once you're graduated, and if you want to go for ICF ACC, which is the first level of accreditation, then you would have 3 individual mentoring coaching with me. So basically, we make sure that you have both group and individual mentoring, that you have it every month so that you have time to progress and you can see your evolution. We are 3 to give you feedback, well-experienced mentors, and that helps to really give you complementary perspective on how you're growing. You will not always be observed by the same person, but we 3 of us actually discuss on what we have observed, what we need to pay attention to, and how do you evolve. So you're really in good hands. We are caring to see you progress, to see you progressing. And we are doing our very best to give you the feedback that you need to grow the little adjustment that needs to happen, as well as really leverage and recognize and acknowledge what you're really doing well already. Now, let's move to our last question on really assessing the quality of a coaching certification. That's a key question and a very tricky one, honestly. How do you help me getting hired as a coach later on? And the vast majority of coaching certification is actually not helping you at all. Why? Because to get the accreditation, it's not mandatory. And if we add something on that, then it's more time spent, it's more effort, it's more resources, and we can't hardly charge for it. So this is not a good way to make money, right? But the problem is either you use your skills or you lose them. It's true for any kind of coaching, any kind of skills, and for coaching skills too. So I've seen many coaches who are trying hard after they graduate to get clients, but there's nothing substantial, and they then have to go very disappointingly back to their previous work. They had good reason to leave that work, or on the other side, on the other hand, They wanted to incorporate that in their job. It didn't work as they wanted. And so they stuck in this job that more or less is not as fulfilling as they expected. And the coaching didn't really help. So I don't want that to happen to you because it's such a waste. That's why in the People Coach certification, we have designed an entire module on helping you to define your very own specialty, to build your coaching offer, and to build a networking plan so that you know where to start, you know how to launch, and then you need to follow step by step and progress steadily. What we're also offering is actually feedback. I've been in coaching for the last 15 years, and I've seen some niches, some evolution, some areas that actually are not progressing, that are not fulfilling, that are not profitable. So I will tell you really very directly, if you want to go for it, just go, but be aware that this is hardly ever profitable. So it's your choice, and sometimes it could be the right one, but you need to be aware of it. So that will help you to succeed quicker. Or I can tell you in this area, the profile that is requested is rather this and this and that. So either you complete your profile so that you will be really aligned to what they are looking for, or you choose another niche where you will be more credible, for example. Just because you probably remember there are so many coaches, about 100,000, that if you want to stand out, if you want to be a trusted coach and that people come to you, you really need to have some kind of a strategy that is actually working. It can't come randomly. So as you see, we have designed the People Coach certification with modules where you have excellent coaching techniques, both the fundamental in module 1 and the advanced one in module 3. We make sure in module 2 that you have real practice with real clients so that you have opportunity to test, to progress, to grow. We give you feedback, so mentoring on your competencies so that you speed that learning curve. We support you so that you have a safety net in supervision, so that you are in the right mindset, you have a great presence, and you can cope with what is unexpected and what are the difficulties that every coach would be facing at some point in their starting career. And we have module 4 to help you go for a clear positioning and help the way in finding clients later on. Positioning means having feeling legitimate in speaking about what we do, having a clear message to attract the right people that we are eager to coach. It's not only in the wider market, it could also be in your own company. Because if you want to coach internally, which is actually very doable, you still will need to convince others that beyond your current job, you're able to do something different that they haven't seen you in. So that's a different positioning, and that's something that we need to learn. So I hope that with these 5 key questions, you're now confident that you can make the right choice. If you wonder whether the People Coach certification is well suited for you, we'll be happy to have a meeting together. And if you're not and you find something else, I wish you all the best in embarking in the coaching certification that suits you best. And if you're ready to go for the People Coach certification, I'll be happy to welcome you very soon. Either way, enjoy coaching. Goodbye.